Hello.
Hello.
Hello, we will start in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Hi, sir, we can start the session.
Sure, Radhika. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome everyone to the introduction to cloud computing demo over here. My name is Randhir Kumar, and I am your I'm your cloud architect, and I'll be your trainer for this course. So I would like to give a little bit background about myself, but before that, if you could just send a message. Are you able to hear me clearly? If there is any issues in audio, is everything working fine?
Yes, fine.
Sure. So yeah, again, welcome everyone to the course for cloud computing, and let's get started. So excited to see all of you over here. So before we get started, I would like to give a little bit of background about myself. So my name is Randhir Kumar, and I have overall 10 plus years of cloud experience, where I have worked on multiple AWS projects, multiple DevOps tools. I'm also handling team in my current organization. So in my work experience, can someone please mute yourself if you're not speaking?
Yeah, it's difficult to understand the things because
Hello,
yeah.
everyone. Please mute yourself. Otherwise, we will have to remove you. POCO M2 Pro, whoever you are, could you please mute yourself? Randy sir, I request you to remove the person. Actually, you can kick them out.
Madam, you can from your side also mute, right?
Yeah. I'll mute myself.
All right, so let's get started. Talking about my work experience, I have experience on multiple tools and technologies when it comes to cloud and DevOps. So I have worked on Kubernetes deployment framework, AWS resource deployment framework, and there are multiple projects that I have completed in my 10-year journey. These are the certification which I hold as of right now, which includes security specialty, solution architect professional, and I'm also a certified Kubernetes admin. I have a passion in reading tech blogs and teaching and experimenting new tech. So I love to impart my knowledge, whatever I have gained in the 10 years of experience. So I love to impart that knowledge to newcomers in the field. So that is one of my passions. And I also love reading tech blogs. So mostly I read Medium. There are a lot of LinkedIn blogs which I read. So that is my hobby as of right now. And you can also always reach out to me at vcare CoahcX Live. So this is the email address. You can copy this email address or you can take a note. Talking about my future goals, someday I want to be an enterprise solution architect. I am currently handling cloud within my organization, but there is a lot to do inside that particular domain. So I would love to be an enterprise solution architect in the coming future. So talking about today's course, we are going to study about the cloud computing. But before we start with the cloud computing, it's important to understand that why cloud computing is a buzzword these days, right? So first of all, I would like to inform what a cloud computing is and why do we need it. Now, just to give a little bit of background, 10, 15 years down the lane, what was happening? So organizations were building their own servers. Now, what is a server? Server is a computer which has high compute capability, right? Now, the companies were building their own servers. They were managing their own servers. So in order to manage the servers, they need a building first. Then they would need electricity to run those servers, right? Apart from electricity, they would need the internet connection. And on top of that, they would need a human labor to manage those servers. So back in like 2005, 2007, when cloud computing was not there, so there were a lot of system admins which were basically handling the job. So overall, if you see, to manage all these things inside a company, right, they would need a lot of money, and it was a costly, it was a costly service altogether. Even for purchasing of server, there was a one-time huge cost, which like most of the companies could not afford, say, so they were renting out the servers, right? Now, slowly and gradually, when the organizations started gaining more gaining more advantage in the server or in the IT world. So most of the companies have started building their own data centers as well. So data center, data center is a place where you keep like thousand and several 10,000s of servers, and then from there everything is getting controlled. So if you have to let's say start a new website, right? So you would need to install that particular website on some server over here, right? So data centers consisted of thousands of thousands of servers, and the size of data center, it's like somewhere there are huge data centers as well. Now, depending on the company and depending on where their physical work location is, they had put their website and everything inside the data center on the servers, right? So basically the idea is managing the server environment or managing everything all together was a hectic task. Now, let's say you purchase a computer, right? Just to take an example, let's say you purchase a computer. Now, in how many years this computer will become obsolete, given the today's fast evolving field? So I'll give you my example. Somewhere in 2015, 2014, I bought this really cool i5 fourth generation processor, right? Fourth gen computer. Now, this particular configuration was a very high configuration if you compared at that particular point of time in 2014 or 15. Now today that computer has become obsolete. There is no use of that computer. Even I cannot run Windows 11 inside that computer. There is still some use, but it is like you cannot support the ever evolving field of information technology, and there are different operating systems which are coming these days. So that is not getting supported on this computer right now. So the idea behind explaining this was, let's say a company is purchasing a server, and it purchased a server in 2020, for example, when the COVID happened. So that server, due to the hardware configuration and due to the ever evolving change in the technology, the server will be obsolete somewhere in, let's say, 2024 or 2025. Now, if you take this example, now in 5 years, if the server is of no use, in that case, the company has to sell all the server as a scrap, for which they would not get like a good amount of money as well, right? So, which is the reason why most of the companies have moved, or they don't want to manage the servers on their own. Now, that is where the cloud comes into picture. So what is cloud? Cloud is again servers itself, where there is a third party company. In our case, it will be AWS. Now there is a third party company, AWS, you can say it is Azure, then you can say GCP. So these are big organizations. And what they do is they manage the servers for you. Okay, so they have their own buildings and servers. What you do is you just get the servers on rent. And it is so easy to get the server on rent that you can just create an account, like you create an email address or something like that. You create an account and then you sign up for the service, and then you can start using the servers, or you can start using the offerings which they provide. So it's that easy. Now, if you talk about the cloud computing, so in simple terms, cloud computing is you are using someone else's server and you are paying either on the hourly basis or you are paying for the time that you are using, right? It can be both of them. Now that is one thing that you are paying for it. Now, why do we call it as a cloud? So if you have two things, like if you have computer and if you have a working internet connection, then anywhere in the world you are there, you can use the cloud. So cloud basically is managed and basically used by multiple people, multiple organization. Now over here we are referring to cloud as a server or storage or network, whatever it is, but it is hosted or it is sold by someone else, like big companies like AWS, Azure, GCP, and there are some smaller players as well, like IBM, Alibaba Cloud, DigitalOcean is there, so on and so forth. So this is what is called as a cloud. Now let's go through the PowerPoint presentation. Now, if you have to define the cloud computing, you can basically say that it is delivery of computing services over the internet. That is exactly what we have studied. So someone else is hosting the service. Someone else is managing the servers, but they are delivering it over the internet. So how can it be delivered? So first of all, if you have a working internet connection and if you have a computer, so they provide you a console access. Like they provide you a user interface using which you can interact. Correct? Now, if you have the internet connection, so you can access it from anywhere in the world. Now, when we say access it from anywhere, so let's say if your organization or if your company is working in the US and you are sitting here in India, but then also you can use the servers which are hosted in the United States with the help of the console that they provide you. Now, talking about the cloud computing, when they deliver the service, so there are 4 major pillars in the cloud computing. So you have compute, then you have network, you have storage, and then at the end you have security. So any and every AWS or any and every service that you are going to study in any cloud, for example, either you are studying about AWS, you are studying about Azure, you are studying about GCP, they will basically fall into either compute, either network, or storage, or security, right? So here it is mentioned that you include servers, storage, database, networking, and softwares. So everything included, we are able to utilize the cloud. We are able to utilize these services to actually run the complete IT operations for a given company. So including these services, you can basically use the entire stack set, the cloud stack set, to basically run the entire IT of your company, right? So whatever is required, let's say you require some networking services, you require some security services, you want to store several hundred terabytes of data. So it's very easy these days due to the cloud. Okay, moving to the next slide. There are 3 main types of cloud computing. So when I have to differentiate about the types of cloud computing, so first of all, there will be a public cloud. So public cloud is open for all. In that category, you have different cloud providers like AWS, Azure, and GCP. So these are major public cloud providers. Now, why do we say they are public cloud providers? Because they are, first of all, operated and owned by a third-party provider, and it is open for all. So any person can use these clouds without having any license requirement or without having any requirement of a specific size of an organization. So even if your organization is just consist of like 10 people, you can still use the cloud. There is no differentiation when it comes to using the public cloud. So that is why it is open for the general public, and also most of the organization, bigger organizations, are using this cloud computing for their use case. Now, what is private cloud? So private cloud is basically, let's say, for example, if there is a company, if there is a company which is TCS, so Tata Consultancy Services, they will have their own data center, and in their data center they will have several engineers who will be managing that data center, right? And using some of the services, if they provide this data centers access to their engineers for performing their work, so in that case that is called as a private cloud. Now in this case, TCS will not allow any other person to use their cloud, right? Which is why it is privately owned, privately governed, and privately used by a single organization, which is called as a private cloud, right? So the third cloud is the hybrid cloud, which combines the public and the private. So again, take an example of TCS. TCS as a company will be having their infrastructure or their servers in the private cloud. Now, since the IT industry is evolving, they will not be stick to this private cloud itself. They also want to explore the public cloud as well, right? So that they can purchase or they can get more projects. So basically, if you combine private and public cloud, then TCS, in fact, will be using the third type of cloud, which is called as hybrid cloud. Now, in order to use both the cloud services together, like if I talk about both the cloud, it is private and public. In that case, they have to have like different IT services enabled. So they need to create their own network. They need to create their own connectivity. Okay, and they need to have their own IT engineers who will manage these things. So hybrid cloud, in fact, is a little bit expensive over public cloud. So public cloud is the cheapest of all, whereas hybrid cloud basically brings a lot of complexity when it comes to managing the cloud infrastructure. So I hope it is clear to all. Let me know if you have any questions or any doubts.
Yeah, it's clear.
All right. So let's move forward.
Ranjan,
And
what is the amount of hardware knowledge we need to have before going for this? I mean, do we need, see, I'm from the network security background, so I don't have any hardware like servers and all, much of that. So do I need to do some course before joining this or something like that? Some server related?
so sorry, guys, there was this network. I think someone asked like, what is the hardware knowledge requirement?
Yes, yes, yes.
So for studying public cloud, you don't need any hardware knowledge. You just need to know about basics of computer and all, right? There is no hardware knowledge as such required.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need not be any Microsoft systems engineer or some certification like.
So over here,
So-
we'll be going through the basics of the operating systems. So
Mhm.
for going through this course, I don't think you need any prior knowledge of any operating system or hardware as such.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's move forward. And we'll now discuss about the three major offerings the cloud services have. Now, they are depending on the model how the cloud services are sold in the market. Okay. You might have heard about Office 365. So Office 365 is a software which is like an extension to Office that we used to use in the previous times, right? Now, Office 365 is a combination of a software suite. So it provides you Excel, it provides you Microsoft Word, it provides you Access, and it provides you PowerPoint. So these are just a few services it provides. Now, the advantage of using Office 365 is, let's say you have created an Excel document on your personal computer, right? So the same Excel document you can open from your office computer, provided you are logged into your account. So in this case, the Microsoft is providing you a feasibility where you can create document on one computer and access it on other computer. Now, the question will arise in your mind, like, where is that document exactly saved? Is it on your personal computer or is it on the office computer? So you can save it on both the computers, but in this case, how you access it on any computer, so it is actually saved on the Microsoft data center. So I will name it as Microsoft DC, and internally it's called as a cloud. So cloud is basically you can access it from anywhere, which is why Office 365 is sold as a application suite. And this is a great example of the software as a service. So here the company or the organization is basically selling you the service as a software suite. So another example of this can be your Google account. So you have Gmail, you get Drive. Now, apart from that, you also get Google Meet. So this is sold as a software as a service. Here, you are not getting any access to servers or as such anything, right? It's just the service which Microsoft or Google is selling it to you. Like in most of the cases, it will be free, but if you want to use like more features and all, so you have to pay for that. Now that is called as a software as a service. So any company is selling the services in the form of software. So different examples can be email, then CRM tools, customer relationship management tools. You have collaboration tools like Office 365, etc., which are a great example of software as a service. Now let's discuss about platform as a service. So let's say if we talk about YouTube. So in case of YouTube, when there are different creators who want to create their content. Now, how they will publish the content on the internet? What they do is they simply have an account inside YouTube. They create the videos and they just upload the videos to YouTube, right? Now, provided their account is public, everyone who is basically following that person is able to watch their YouTube videos. Now, in this case as well, YouTube is not giving you access to any server as such, right? It is also not creating any extra infrastructure for you. So what it is doing is, it is just giving you the platform so that you can upload your videos and you will be famous, right? So based on that, YouTube is an example of platform as a service. Now, in case of
So-
the IT world,
Yeah,
was
I do
somebody
have a
saying something?
question for, yeah, I do have a question for SaaS platform.
Yes, please.
So in SaaS platform, you gave the example of Microsoft 365, right?
Mhm.
So see, Microsoft 365, we do have that lot of applications, right? It can be a SharePoint, it can be a OneDrive,
Yes,
and many other more. So so SaaS platform is giving us, I mean, like applications to use.
correct.
But when it comes to, I mean, save our data. So
Mhm.
where exactly we are saving our data after using that application?
So that's a good question. So basically, if you use any application, so let's take an example of Excel. You are creating an Excel file inside Microsoft Office 365. I'll just name it as O365. So whenever you are saving the data, you are saving it inside the Microsoft servers. So this application is running in the Microsoft data center. And whenever you save the application, or sorry, whenever you save the data, that data is getting saved in the Microsoft data center. Now, that is the reason why just by logging into your account on any computer, you can basically access your files and folders. So whatever files you have created, you can access it anywhere. So another example is Drive. You might have used Google Drive. So Google Drive will work irrespective of what computer you are logging in, right? So it can be your office computer, it can be your home computer, or it can be any iPhone or iPad or something like that, right? So if you save the file from your office computer, you can access it on your iPhone. Now, this is how, I mean, data is not saved on any of these devices. So data is saved somewhere in the data center of Google or Microsoft, whatever provider is for that software service. Now, when you log into your other device, so that file is synced and it shows that it is present on the local computer. But it's not the case. It is actually saved in the data center of the service provider.
So here the service provider is the application we are using, right?
Yes,
Yes. So it is not about like AWS like providing extra storage in SaaS platform. It is giving only you the facility to use only application.
right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep, no problem. Now, I was talking about the platform as a service. So I took an example of YouTube. There is another example. So if you want to run your website, so there is another example of Heroku. So Heroku is, a website. So let's say you are a website developer, okay? And you have the code to basically use, but you don't want to take the headache of creating servers. You don't want to create any infrastructure, network, storage, or anything like that. What you simply do is you log into your Heroku account and just upload your code to Heroku. So then it will create a website, it will install the website, and it will make the website up and running. Okay. It will also give you uh, the website address which you can distribute and people can start using your website. So Heroku is a platform which gives you or which provides you server background, but you don't have to manage anything. So it just provides you the platform where you can upload your code and then your website will be up and running. Now, there are certain websites which provide you platforms to write codes, which provides you different web-related services. So that comes under the platform as a service. Now the third offering that we are going to talk about is infrastructure as a service. Now, the great examples in this case is AWS, Azure, GCP, which provides you access to create servers. So you can create your own servers. You can create your own storage. You can create your own network related components. You can basically configure your own website the way you want, right? So there is no guardrail as such that you have to do it like this or you have to follow a strict guideline. So let's say if you want to run your application, if you want to run on, let's say, a bigger server, no one is going to stop you. It's just that you have to pay the price for that particular server, and you can create different services inside the cloud environment. So you will have full control over the server, storage, and network, and then you can use it. So in this case, that is called as an infrastructure as a service. Please let me know if you have any questions in these three offerings. Okay, seems there is no question, so I'll move forward. Now, it's also important to understand about how the cloud computing has evolved over a past decade. So when you talk about cloud computing, so initially all the service providers started with few services. They didn't go full into the cloud, or they didn't go full into the investment and all. So they started with few services. Now, when they saw that the demand is rising, and when they saw that the companies are basically more interested in using the cloud services than keeping their own infrastructure. So obviously there are few companies which cannot do it because of the data protection law and something like that, like the banking domain companies. So if you talk about a bank, the bank would not be able to keep all its data on the cloud because of the security reasons, right? So apart from the few companies, like most of the companies are basically performing a migration activity to the cloud. Now these days, this job is also like, very popular. So like once you join any organization, you can be tasked to do the migration from the on-prem to the cloud. Now, over here, in case of AWS, if we talk specifically about AWS, you will be able to find more than 150 to 200 plus AWS services, right? These services offer different capabilities when it comes to, so we talked about basically compute, database, etc. Now, these days, the companies are focusing mostly on the machine learning. They are also focusing on the data science. They are focusing on AI. So the cloud providers have slowly and gradually been launching these services, and you are open to use these services if it is feasible to you. Okay. So most you will get like out of the box support. You will get most of the use cases fulfilled in case you want to use the machine learning and AI capabilities as well. So these are like few evolutions that has happened in the cloud. Like initially they were just relying on the basic services. Now they are launching most of the advanced services as well, so that people can use it, and then people will be able to basically just rely on the cloud so that they can get their work done on time, right? Apart from that, if you have to do some heavy high performance compute, so you can use the cloud. If you have to store petabytes of data as well, you can use the cloud. So, the cloud infrastructure has grown so much that most of the people or most of the organization, they breathe in and breathe out in the cloud. So they cannot think of their company running without cloud. So that is the footprint which is of the cloud computing in today's world. Okay. So let's move forward. Now, obviously, there are some disadvantages of cloud computing. Anything cannot be 100%, anything cannot be 100% advantageous. There are some disadvantages. Now, we'll slowly discuss about the disadvantages. So the main disadvantage of using a cloud is internet connectivity. Let's say if you don't have an internet connectivity, you are living at a remote location where you don't have any internet connectivity. Now that is very hard to say, but there are some places where you don't have internet connectivity. Or in case of some major incident, if there are some riots happening in some of the states, there is like a ban on internet connectivity, then you will not be able to use the cloud. There is no way you can access the cloud if you don't have an internet connectivity, because the cloud providers do not provide access to their data centers. You cannot just go to their data center and use it. You have to use it through the internet. Until and unless you have the internet, you will not be able to use the cloud service. The second is the vendor locking. Now, it's important to understand this concept. Uh, let's say there is a company which is called as Nike. So most of us have heard about this brand. And let's say Nike one day decides to move their infrastructure to the cloud. So they purchase their compute from AWS. They purchase the databases, or they start using the databases. They start using the network related services. And there are some licenses as well, which they have bought from AWS. Now, initially, when Nike was using the on-prem, they were paying certain amount of money. And then they hired this third-party, company like TCS or someone to migrate to the cloud, in which they paid a hefty amount of money, right? Now, everything is created, everything has been migrated, and Nike, like as a company, Nike is keeping very less amount of engineers because they just want some maintenance job. Now, let's say if Nike one day decides that there is a lot of cost coming on AWS, so let's go to use Azure. Now here there is a lot of catch, guys. So basically what happens is, now in case of this, Nike again would have to hire a third-party provider because it doesn't have the knowledge, or it doesn't have, the expertise to move everything from AWS to Azure, where it has to pay a lot of money. Now, in this case, Nike will say that, why should I pay more money? So let's keep using AWS. So there it is like stuck, and Nike will be logged for a vendor. So that is called as vendor lock-in. You are tied to a specific vendor because you have committed the vendor to use certain services, and then you are tied to that particular vendor. So over here, the cloud providers are the vendors actually. Now, the third disadvantage is the limited control. Say if you have to create a server inside AWS. So if you create a server, you will not get access to the hardware. So no access to the underlying hardware. You will just be using the operating system which is installed on this server. And there are some things like you will not be able to change when it comes to operating system or access to the infrastructure which is running in the background, right? So let's say you have created a database. You will not be able to use the database. You will not be able to access the operating system of the database. You will only be able to use the top layer of the database, which is like SQL or something like that. So SQL is a language which is like pretty popular in the database side. So you have very limited control of the infrastructure in case of cloud computing. Now, the other disadvantage is security. So, you know, when you create a server, you store the data, then I think you are completely relying on the cloud services for the security. Where like most of the hacker community or hacker groups, they know that AWS or Azure will have sensitive data for most of the government projects, most of the, you know, the banking projects or any other company. So let's say if they want to bring that company down, there can be different reasons. So they can do it for you know, money, or they can do it for any purpose. So I mean, AWS or Azure will be prone to the security risk, because every now and then you might have you will hear that there is some attack on AWS, some attack on Azure, which, I mean, most of the cases these hackers are also successful, where they have been able to bring down the services for a longer period of time. Now that is a disadvantage, uh, but you know, I will not take it as a complete disadvantage, but because the security is one such thing which is you know, which is also common in case of private cloud. So if you are using a private cloud, there can be someone who can try to bring your company down, so they can try to access your public private cloud as well. Now, having talked about the disadvantages, now is the time we talk about the advantages that we get of the cloud computing. So now there is a reason why I talked about disadvantages first, because there are very few. Now, if we talk about advantages, then you will come to know that why we should be using the cloud, right? So the first and foremost advantage is backup and restore the data. So let's say if you are storing your data in cloud, it is easily, you can easily take a backup just by click of a button. You can take the backup and you can also restore that data in the cloud. Given it has been, you know, the private cloud, there is like lot of tools which are required, but in this case, it's not the case. So you can simply take the backup from the console itself. Now, the second advantage is the improved collaboration application wide. Now, as I said, initially the AWS is itself launching, or it has like 150 to 200 different AWS services. If you need servers, AWS will provide you servers. If you need database, AWS will provide you database. If you need storage, AWS has a service for storage. Similarly for networking. So you name the use case, AWS has a service for that particular use case. So that is why it is easily, or it is possible to run multiple services within one you know, AWS account. You can run multiple services, and then you can host all the infrastructure over there. So which is why you get an improved collaboration between different services altogether. right? If in case you want to purchase a storage, for example, the on-prem, it used to take like 4 or 5 months to purchase the hardware and then set it up and then start using it. So it was like lot of time, lot of money involved in case of on-prem, which is not the case in terms of cloud. Now, the third advantage is easy accessibility. So you just need to have an internet and the mobile access where you will be able to access the cloud environment. The fourth one is low maintenance cost. You just have to pay for the hourly price, and sometimes it is free as well. So if we are studying about AWS, there are some there are services that we can use for free of cost. Now, you also have a pay per use model where you can, like, let's say if you are running some service for 100 times, then only you pay for that. Otherwise, it is free. So pay per use model is very popular because like most of the companies, like they, let's say if I'm running a company and I have a website which people only access during the daytime. In the night time, no one is going to access, that I know. So what I can do is I can simply shut down the servers and save the money. So I will only pay for like 8 or 10 hours. My servers are up and running. Apart from that, I will not pay anything. Okay, any questions in terms of advantage, disadvantage, or whatever we have discussed so far?
In case of a disadvantage, can you say like outage as a disadvantage as well? Like for example, if something is not correct, I mean, from the service provider side,
Mhm.
so it's again a loss for consumers, right?
That's correct. So that is one disadvantage. But if you talk about cloud, so cloud service providers offer a 99% of uptime. Now, this is huge in terms of IT industry. If you talk about IT uptime, like most of the organizations are not providing 99% of uptime. So whenever you sell your services, for example, TCS or any company sells its services, so they only promise uptime till 95% or something like that. Now, most of the cloud providers, they provide you an uptime of 99%. So to your question, even if there is, even if there is some outage, that is restored within like half an hour or couple of hours. Personally speaking, apart from those, when the hackers brought the DNS service of AWS down, I think 2 years ago, uh, apart from those types of downtimes, I haven't seen major downtimes in AWS. So personally, I'm used to AWS. I'm using AWS for like 7 or 8 years, and I personally haven't seen any amount of downtime in AWS services. So it is pretty reliable when it comes to using the services. If you have to manage the on-premise servers for the same application, then I mean, it will be more downtime as compared to what you are getting in the cloud. So cloud services are pretty reliable, as I can say.
Okay.
Yep.
And in case of backup and restore, so AWS like providing itself like the facility of backup and restore, or
Yes,
is he giving some third party, I mean, services to the consumers
there
for
is.
backup and restore?
Mhm. Okay.
Yes.
So to your question, everything, every service or every facility that you are getting in case of AWS will be provided in the AWS console itself. There is no third party involved for any of the applications or any services as such. So it is just by a few click of a button that you can restore the data and also take the backup. So when we move forward in the cloud, so when we move forward with studying about different AWS services, we'll also see the practical use cases over there. So I'll show you how to take the backup and how to restore the data.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so talking about the cloud, in this case, we'll be talking about AWS cloud. So there are two concepts over here. One is the region and the other one is the availability zone. So what is a region? When you have to define what is region, so you can say region is a geolocation or geographical location where cloud providers host their services, right? Let's say we take an example of Mumbai. Okay, so Mumbai is a city. Now in case of the cloud provider, so we have AWS data centers in Mumbai itself. So there are like 2 or 3 data centers, so which are located far from each other. Okay, so when you talk about region, so Mumbai is one. Then we also will have Hyderabad region. Okay, now there is a geographical distance of like 1500 to 2000 kilometers between 2 regions. So these are the different geographical locations where cloud provider can host their services, right? Now, what is a region? Basically, if you can see over here, so this is Africa, and in Africa we have this region over here. Now, how will cloud provider define a region? So let's say if they find multiple things, like if the location of the place is good, you can get cheap electricity and internet. Okay, the other thing that you have is you can find cheap labor. Now I would not say it is very cheap, but this is also a consideration. The climate is good. You don't get like earthquakes, or you don't get floods and all. So basically the region is chosen by taking into consideration multiple things. Now AWS, if you take an example of AWS, so let's say AWS has decided to launch or host its services in the Mumbai location. Now in Mumbai as well, it will not put all its data center at one place. So it will distribute the data center. So just to take an example, their data center can be, let's say, in this location, or if you are not familiar with the location, that's totally fine. So it can be in one of the building in the Mumbai region. Now there can be another data center which can be located in the distance of 45 to 50 kilometers, right? So this is one data center, this is the second data center. Now AWS will be providing its services for both the data centers. The reason why they do it is, let's say this building catches fire. Okay, now then the complete services for that particular region will be down. So it does not want to do it. So that is why there is another data center which is located at a distance of 45 to 50 kilometers in the same region. So then what is the difference, or what is the, can you say that if you just have one data center, you can call it as a region? The answer is no. So if you have one data center, you need one another data center. So this particular data center is called as availability zone. Availability zone is referred to the mapping or the data center which AWS has. So that is called as a availability zone. Now only if you have two or more availability zone, then AWS will declare it as a region. Otherwise, it will not declare it as a region. Okay, so that is the difference between availability zone and the region. So region is a combination of multiple availability zones. Now, if you talk about different cloud providers, in case of AWS, the regions, the availability zones, and this is the old data actually. So it's more than 90 right now, and regions will be more than 30. So these are the number of regions, and then these are the number of availability zones when it comes to AWS cloud or GCP cloud. Right. So basically the idea behind is, in case of AWS GCP, the concept and everything remains the same. It's just the way how they sell the services. So that is the only difference. Rest everything is the same in case of all the cloud providers. So let's say if you are learning AWS, it will take you very less time to learn Azure, because the overall process and the overall services is same or similar. Okay, so if you guys want, let's take a 2 or 3 minutes break, and then we will again carry on with the next few slides.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Now let's get started with how you will start with the cloud. So the basic service that everybody, or when we start with the cloud, is Elastic Compute Cloud, which is actually creating a server in the in the AWS environment. So before that, I think you can go ahead with creation of AWS account. So in order to create an AWS account, you can visit this particular website. Just a moment. So you can go to AWS console. It will take you to this website, aws.amazon.com/console. So over here, you can create an AWS account. So if you click on create an AWS account, you have to provide, okay, so it is saying I can click on create AWS account, and it will take you to this particular page. Here you have to provide your email address, and then you have to provide your favorite account name or whatever you want to keep as an account name. Then you can click on verify email address, right? Once you click on verify email address, you will be receiving an email asking for the email verification. So once you verify, you can continue with the rest of sign up process. Now the sign up process would include like what are you going to use this AWS account for? What is your current role? So you can say as you are a student, and then going forward, you have to you have to provide your address, and then you have to also provide a credit card or debit card information. Now, you need not worry about that particular thing, because there will be like 2 rupees deducted from your account, and then that will be reverted back to your account, right? So and AWS services initially are free for 12 months, but there is some limitation in how you can use it. So when I talk about limitations, so the limitations are like you will only be able to use create a server with specific CPU and RAM configuration. If you have to use the storage, you will be able to use certain GB of storage. So that is the limitation. If you take care of those limitations, then you don't have to pay for anything in cloud or anything in AWS, right? So we do have, the process in which, let's say, if you spend some amount of money, you can get it back, or you can basically get it waived off. So we also have a process. So hoping you will be able to like create your own AWS accounts. I'm going to start with a new service, which is AWS Elastic Compute Cloud, right? So let me log into AWS console side by side. So I think before I get started with a new AWS service, I can show you how does the AWS console looks like. So when you log into AWS console, this will look like something like this. So this at the top left is your home button. So you can click on this home button to bring it to the home page. And then you have the list of services on over here. So let's say if you want to work with networking and content delivery services, so you can click on this, and then you have these many services which are available. So going forward, we'll be studying a lot of AWS services. So based on that, you can use it, right? Now you can also search for the services. Let's say if I'm going to search for any service. So EC2 is one such service. We'll understand it in more details going forward. So you can click on this and that will take you to that particular console for the service. So this is the EC2 dashboard. Now over here you can create servers, you can create storage for the server, etc., which we are going to see going forward. Okay. Now this is the Cloud Shell. So if you want to run certain commands for AWS, you can open this and run it. And this is the notification center. Here you can get some help and support. These are the regions that are available for now, right? And you can also enable and disable the regions over here. So let's say if you want to create a server in Mumbai region, so you can just click on Asia Pacific and that will take you to the Mumbai region. So we can go back. I can click on the home button. It will take me to the home page. Now over here, it will show up some information about your AWS account. So here it will show you the AWS account ID. Here it will show you the user with whom you are logged in. Then account information, organization, billing, and everything will show up over here. So you can click on these settings and adjust them accordingly. And then you can sign out of this account as well. Okay. So this is the basic layout of the AWS console. And you have certain widgets as well that you can configure and customize according to your need. So you have widgets like different get started with AWS tutorials, training and certifications. You have the AWS health and usage. For example, you have the cost report available. So if you are using any service and let's say you have incurred around $10 of cost, then it will show up over here. You have some short videos to build the solutions. So you can watch those videos over here and you can customize it as well. So if you don't want or don't like this widget, you can remove this widget as well. And then you can move them here and there. Like you can do it like this, just drag and drop, and then it will adjust it accordingly. So any AWS running services, like if there is any application, if there is any security findings, then it will show up over here. So possibly you can have the multiple number of widgets in the AWS account. Now this is how you navigate through the AWS account. Now let's say if you want to create a server in the US region, so you can click on this region and go to that region. So once you create the server, it will be created in the North Virginia data center of AWS. Now if you create something, if the Mumbai is selected, so if you create something, then the Mumbai data center, the resource will be created in the Mumbai data center, right? So this is how you navigate through the AWS console. We can get into more details in the later part of the course when we start studying about different AWS services. Having said that, let's go back to the presentation and let's try to understand about Elastic Compute Cloud. So what is EC2 or what is Elastic Compute Cloud? So the name given over here is Elastic. Then we have compute, and then we have cloud. If you take it abbreviation, so it will become ECC. Now C is repeated 2 times, that is why the name is EC2. Okay, so Elastic Compute Cloud. Now the first term Elastic, what is an elastic? So when we talk about the term elastic, what do we understand by elastic? So something can something that can change its shape can be termed as elastic, right? So over here, if we create, I mean, in this term, if you understand, so let's say you create a server with 2 cores of CPU and 4 GB of RAM, right? Now there is no, no advantage of using cloud if you can't change it, because that was the limitation in when the companies were using on-prem systems. So just take an example of your laptop. Let's say you purchase a laptop with this configuration, and later on, if you want to upgrade the same laptop, so you want to add some RAM to it, if you are not able to do it, then it's useless, right? Which is why the cloud provides this elasticity, and it provides the advantage that even if you have created the server with this configuration, you can increase it to 4 cores and 8 GB RAM at any given point of time. So that is what we meant by elastic. Now the second term is compute. What is compute? So compute is basically a combination of CPU plus RAM. Now CPU is the processing capability of any given machine. So in terms of laptop as well, you have a CPU which can process something. So if you just type in 2 plus 2, right? So if you just type in this mathematical calculation, so 2 plus 2, then the computer will spit out 4, right? Now the processing has been done by the CPU, and this data, when you enter it inside the computer, so this data is temporarily stored inside the RAM, right? And then the CPU is getting the data from the RAM and then doing the calculation and sending the data back to the RAM. So from the RAM, the computer reads and then processes the data, which is 4. So over here, if you combine CPU and RAM, that is called as compute. Okay, so it provides you some computational capabilities, computational advantage. Now, the last term, cloud, is obvious, because since we are using it inside the Amazon account, it is called as cloud. Okay. Now, let's say when we talk about EC2, is AWS providing us the server like a physical server, or how does that work? So let's understand that particular concept. So in case of the AWS data centers, so if you have AWS data centers, right? So in the data centers, there are these big racks which are available. So I'll show you the diagram, or I'll show you the picture in a little bit. So these are the, the shelves on which the servers are kept. So this can be one server, this can be 2. And on a given shelf, you will have like 20 or 25 different servers. Okay. Now, how AWS is basically distributing these servers across different customers. So on top of this, AWS or any cloud provider, let's say if you have to use multiple server as one server, you have to use a software that is called as hypervisor. And these are called as physical servers, or they are also called as bare metal servers. Okay. These are called as physical servers or bare metal servers. Now, on top of these bare metal servers, this software component is installed, which is called as hypervisor. So in case of AWS, AWS is using the Zen hypervisor. Okay. So AWS is using the Zen hypervisor. And now if you use the Zen hypervisor, so let's say this compute is like 64 cores and 128 gigabyte of RAM. So when you install hypervisor on all the hardwares, then the total capacity will be used. Now the hypervisor will show something like 640 cores and 1280 gigabyte of RAM. So this is just a machine capacity that it will show. Now from this hypervisor or hypervisor, basically is the virtualization software. So using the hypervisor, we virtualize things. So we are not distributing the hardware capacity directly. Now, when the virtualized environment is installed, so you can create smaller virtual machines. Okay, so you can create a server of 4 cores and 8 GB of RAM just by using the virtualization. Now, what is virtualization? So virtualization is a technology where from a physical server, you can create virtual servers, right? Now, virtual servers will have their own capacity and you can adjust the capacity accordingly if you have resource available on the physical server, right? So in this case, AWS will create a virtual machine or a VM, and that we call it as EC2 instance. Okay. Any questions in this topic, guys?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes. According to this, we have knowledge about VMware.
Okay.
We have knowledge about VMware. Then we do that AWS.
No, so that is not required. I'm just trying to basically explain how does it work in AWS. So if you are using any AWS service, you should also know that how AWS is using or how AWS is creating that service, right?
Okay.
Right. So basically in this case, AWS is just using the virtualization technique where it can have 100 of servers, 100 of racks, and then it can combine the total compute capacity and then later on it can distribute it accordingly. So as I said, I will show you the picture of a data center. It can be easily found on Google. So let's say if you go to Google, you just click on images. So you see, this is how the data center looks like. Now this over here, as you can see, is a single rack. And on a single rack, you have these servers. So if you count, like it can be 12 or 13 servers that you have on just a single rack. And you have several hundreds of racks this side as well, this side as well. So you see, like you have these many servers. So overall, they form a greater hardware capability. So they form a greater hardware strength. And then later on, the services can be distributed to the different users or different people, whosoever is requesting them. Right. So that is how AWS is going to distribute the compute to different users. So let's understand from the slide. EC2 is web service offered by AWS, and it provides scalable computing capacity in the cloud. So scalable is basically coming from the word scale, and basically it is coming from the word elastic. So if you can scale something, if you can change something, let's say you can increase the size of the server. So in that case, that will be a scalable solution, right? Now, if you create a server, you can change the size of the server. You can also create more number of servers. That is simply possible. Now, on the EC2, since it is providing you server, so here you will have two or more operating system as well. So you can use Linux, you can use Windows, and nowadays you can also use Mac operating systems as well in case of AWS. Now in Linux itself, there are different flavors you can use. So you can use Ubuntu, you can use Red Hat, and you can also use, let's say there is a Amazon legacy operating system, which is Amazon Linux. So there are different combinations of operating systems that you can use in case of AWS EC2. Okay. Now, having said that, let's go to the next slide and try to understand about the first and foremost, the requirement which is needed in case of EC2. So before I go ahead and explain about what is security group, it's important to understand that why we need it, right? So let's say you create a server. Now, would you like anybody and everybody to access this server? So if you are working in a company, if you are working, let's say for Amazon, you wouldn't allow everyone to access the servers, right? So only the authorized people should be able to use it. Otherwise, they will, like, they can delete anything, or they can just try to uh, delete the server and all that. So they can do a lot of things, right? So only the authorized person should access this server. Now, over here, if you talk about the access of the server, then how will you control that access? And here we are talking about the network related access, right? So when you create a server, when you create an EC2, then you can control who has access to the server using the security group. We can call it as SG. So this is an EC2. Now this is a security group. Now what is needed in the terms of security group? So when you talk about an operating system, so on the operating system, there will be different, services running. So for example, if you are running a web service, if you are running some service, let's say, how do I put it? So let's say if you are just trying to use, if you are just trying to get into the server. So every server, the services will be running on ports. Okay. So the port will range from 0 to 65,536. Now these are the number of ports that can be used on an operating system. Okay. So just to give you some example, so there is a service called as secure shell. And this is most prominent service when you talk about the Linux operating system. Now we'll understand everything in detail when we start with the session and we cover the basics. But if you talk about the secure shell, it is also called as SSH, and the port for SSH is 22. Okay. So if I have to provide if I have to provide a user just the access of SSH, okay, so let's say if you talk about SSH, In that case, you can provide, the services access using the security group, right? So I think we'll talk more about these opportunities, these services in the actual use cases when we start, with the topics, right? Uh, Now, one thing which I truly want to emphasize on is basically give about the career opportunities, or if you have any questions related to the services. Okay. So, having said that, let me know if you have any questions about whatever we have discussed so far, or if you have any question related to the different opportunities in this field, or what role will you land up, or something like that. Please let me know if you have any questions.
So many would like to know that is this the career for non-IT professionals? Can they land into the successful job after doing this course?
Yes, definitely. So in this course, we will cover a lot of things. We'll talk about the basics of the operating systems, networking, the cloud services. So this will give you a good foundation for start giving the interviews, and talking. You can start giving the interviews, and you can land up a job in IT as well.
What all the career opportunities are there, sir? Like which all designations they can apply?
Okay, so with this specific course you are asking, then the first job that you can land is the cloud engineer. You can also call it as cloud administrator. There is a cloud finance. You can also land a job in cloud finance, which actually requires some knowledge on cloud services, their costing, and so on and so forth. And like if you keep continuing or pursuing in this same direction, then you can also land up a job in DevOps. Similarly, in the first field, you can also get a cloud network job, and that is about it. Now, once you spend some time into this field, once you spend some times into the cloud field, you can either choose your specialization, which is DevOps, and you can choose security, or you can select a solutions architect. Okay, so these are like the possible jobs that you can get. Now these the second ones will be coming after some experience, but initially you can start with the first job titles which I have suggested.
Also, students have one more question is like, what are the average salaries for an experienced and non-experienced person?
So that totally depends on company to company. Like I cannot quote exact range, but if I talk about my experience, and again, this is only related to my experience. What I have seen is people starting with this particular domain. So the starting salary can be up to 3.5 LPA. That again totally depends on company. So if you are just going to a service-based company, so this is the starting salary, and you can go up to, like, personally I have seen people earning 45 LPA as well. That again totally depends on the experience. So initially this is the start where you can get in, and this particular
Average-
package is for 10 years of experience.
Yeah,
People with 10
so
years of
average like a non-IT person or a fresher
Mhm.
could get up to 3.5 to 5 LPA,
That's correct.
depending on the company.
That's correct. Depending on the company. Yes.
Does anyone have any questions based on the syllabus being covered?
Yeah. So this is all about the AWS course, right? So in this course content, uh, we do have a certifications as well from AWS side. So uh, based on the content, I mean, so how many certificates we can cover, like their course content?
So this course will cover the cloud practitioner certificate. Yeah, practitioner certificate.
So it
You
means
can,
that we will cover the entire syllabus and they can book the exam on their own on the AWS website. Am I right?
that's correct.
And how much does it cost? If they want to book it separately, how much does it cost?
I think the cloud practitioner certificate is for $150. I
So,
can,
so this is the course content for the first certificate of the AWS, which is Cloud Practitioner.
yeah,
Yes.
that is the foundation level certification for cloud.
Okay. Do you have any something also, if somebody wants to extend, I mean, for another certificate, the next level?
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely we can discuss this actually. You can WhatsApp us on the number
Okay.
given on the website. We will definitely discuss this.
Can I do directly the associate AWS architecture associate after this course?
Yes.
So you would need a little bit of practice. You would need a little bit of more service in-depth knowledge, and then I would suggest to go for the administrator certificate. Because there are like a lot of use cases which are covered when it comes to the associate level certification. Now, practitioner is to basically assess you on the basis of the service level understanding. Now, how are you going to use the service? How are you going to use the service to fulfill different organizational use cases? That will be coming into the administrator related course or administrator level certification. So I would say it's a bit tough, but yeah, you can give practitioner first and then you can apply for administrator certification.
Okay, I am 7 to 8 years experience in telecommunication, and I have knowledge about Linux and VMware and a little bit knowledge about in Python also. That's why I will ask you to do directly associate or not.
Yeah, so I think now since you have a good amount of experience already into IT industry, once you will go through this certificate, this particular course where we'll be covering like the services which are offered by AWS, then I think you will have a pretty good idea about what can be the use cases that these services can basically fall in place, right? So for an experienced professional, ideally, yes, you can go with the associate level certification directly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question. Is there any particular time in the calendar year when we can go for the certification, or it's available 365 days?
It's available 365 days.
All right,
So
thank you.
you can book exam anytime. It's just that you have to select whether you want to give the certification from a center or you want to take the exam at home. The home exam is also possible. So there will be a proctor who will be monitoring your movements, and you can give the exam at home as well. So you can book exam in advance, like I think based on the availability, if you book exam after 2 days, you will be able to book it.
Okay, all right. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you.
Okay, yeah, Arshad this side. I also have a question about it. Like I had a conversation with Urvi from CoahcX. So I have done package for like 21,000 for the AWS certification. So what certificate I will get in 21,000 and what course you will cover?
So if admin can answer that question, I think that will be great.
What exactly is your question? I'm not clear with it. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I had a conversation with Urvi from CoahcX.
Yeah.
So she said that in 21,000, like she quoted like 21,000 amount for the course. So she said that in 21,000 we'll provide certificate, and after in 4 months
Yeah.
you complete the course, and after that we'll provide job assistant and 100% like LMS.
Correct.
Yeah. So what
Correct.
I will get all this? Can you please
Yeah.
brief
So
me?
30,000 is the course fees. 21,000 is a one-time payment offer. If you want to do an installment, it is 30,000. This course covers the level 1, which is the cloud practitioner syllabus. And after completion of this course, you will get internship certificate plus the course certificate, which is
So
ISO certification.
I'm sorry, but my question is, if I paid like 21,000, so apart from that, I'll have to pay a certification fee, or it is included in that? Because
That is something which you have to pay on the AWS website. It is not we are taking it. It is the AWS website. You have to go and officially register for that certificate, that exam. As sir mentioned, it is like 120.
But you will get one certificate from CoahcX itself.
Which is ISO certification. You will get from CoahcX, but officially for AWS certificate, which you can, which you may not. It is up to you if you want.
yeah, it's up to me. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So one certificate I will get from your CoahcX, that is ISO certified.
Yeah.
And if I want to do from AWS, then I'll have to pay the certification fees, which is $150. Am I right?
Correct. Right.
Okay, got it. And what else I will get? Like she also told me that about job assistant and the jobs.
Yes.
She also, I have also sent the resume, and she discussed with someone else.
Yeah. So 2 years of
started-
placement assistance you will get after the course completion. So since the month you have completed your course, from that month, 2 years onwards, you will get the placement assistance, where we will be sending your resume wherever there is a requirement where we have a tie-up with, and we will be talking to the companies on behalf of you for the right opportunities we can avail for you.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so apart from that, we give you the resume building guidance, LinkedIn guidance, that how should be your LinkedIn profile. We work on your like profile building. We work on your placement assistance. 2 years, you will have the access to the recording of the all sessions which have been taught into live. So any concept you want to revise, even after 1 year after course completion, you will have access to the LMS.
Because the question I'm asking, because she said that we have a tie-up with some companies, and there is and there are one companies which is required like about 20-25 candidate in next 4-5 months. So we are shortlisting for that, and after completing the course,
So requirement for the cloud practitioners is really going high. We have been receiving a lot of requirement. Even yesterday, we have received a requirement with AWS certified professionals. So we keep on getting the requirement. That's the reason we are looking for the professionals who are getting certified from our program.
Okay, and one another question, like Randir sir said that his starting salary will be 3.5 LPA. But what about if the person is already getting 5 or 5.5 LPA and he is experienced about like 5 years and more than 5 years?
Yeah, so definitely you will get higher than that.
Okay, like can you give me an average?
Yeah, so if you're already on 5 lakhs, then the next hike will be, you will be expecting approximately 7 to 8 lakhs minimum.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you for the confirmation.
Yeah. If anyone have any questions, Mr. Viraj is here, Randir sir is here, Hitesh sir is here. All will be very happy to answer.
In this course, I mean, sir will provide any lifetime projects, I mean, like facility as well.
Apart from AWS, we provide data science, data analytics, and business analytics. So batches are
No.
starting just today. If you are interested to know more about it, you can
No,
go on the website and ping on the WhatsApp number there.
No, I'm talking about AWS only. I mean, under this content and this course, sir is providing any lifetime projects. I mean, like so facilities so that we can have an hand free on those projects and learn more about the AWS things.
Viraj sir and Ganesh sir, will you be able to answer? I'm actually not clear with the question.
Could you please tell again, actually?
So, I mean, lifetime project I'm talking about, right? They are things, I mean, we can, I mean, learn more about, right? When we do some lifetime projects, right? And we can easily say, like, we do have experience in this AWS. And we can not be, like, we can go for directly for the interviews and we can tell them, right, we do have experience because we handle some lifetime projects. And because of that, I mean, they can treat us as not as a fresher, but as a experienced in AWS.
Right. So don't worry, we are covering like projects after like in this practitioner course. So that will like you can keep it as like you are already working on some kind of project or something. So as an experience level, so that will really help you. Like we are going to do 3 mini projects in this particular course. So one is like deploying a LAMP stack application to Amazon Lightshell, and likewise, like there are 3 mini projects. So that things like you can mention like kind of a like industry experience or something like that on your resume, which may help you for cracking and at least an interview or something like that. Am I clear?
Yes,
like,
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And for practice, I mean, like we can use we need to create, I mean, AWS account, or are you guys providing any kind of lab facility as well?
No. You have to create from your end itself. Like, and apart from that, mostly these were like fundamentals which will be covering in this practitioner course. So it will be like going a run through of every aspect, like cloud concepts, foundations, into the security and compliances and technology. So there are different things like within this AWS and services. So how we are going to make this kind of an architecture or something. So these things will be covered in this course. So yeah, you need to have to create your AWS account, and it doesn't charge anything from the AWS. So it's so I guess like it is clear as well.
Okay.
Yeah, your name, please, actually.
Dinesh Kumar.
Dinesh Kumar. Okay.
Yeah, one more question from me. Yeah. Actually, I just want to know that when will the session start, and the classes will be on Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, actually session will start on 2nd of July. We are starting the new batch. It will be morning session on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, so what timing, we will have evening and morning both batches, or just evening? Or
currently we are starting the morning batch. If more of the students are preferring for evening batch, we can consider a new evening batch too.
Morning, what time?
Approximately 8 to 10:30. Does it suit you all?
That will be the problem for me, because that time is my office shift.
Okay. So does 7:30 to 10 works?
No. Office shift and like 9:30 a.m. So I can join 9:30.
So we can have like 9:30 to 12 also, or 10 to 12:30 also.
It is starting from 2nd of July, no?
Yes.
I'll have to discuss with my management team. I'll check if I can get the Saturday, Sunday off.
Yeah,
fixed off, so that will be the great for me.
yeah.
And also like weekend class, after weekend class, do we have any doubt clearance session as well? Like
Yes,
in
every
weekdays?
Wednesday you will have a doubt clearing session. Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And which is for any particular timing?
Yeah, it would be 9 to 10 p.m.
9 to
If
9.
it, yeah, if it is okay for you all, like we can decide once the batch starts, we can discuss a win-win time for everyone. It's not like hard written that 8 to 9 or 9 to 10. We can discuss the timings together, which is suitable for all.
Okay. Okay, got it. Because yeah. So and meantime, like in weekdays, we will get like any LMS for practice or
Yeah, you will get assignments, notes, you will get the recordings for practicing. Also, you will be a part of Telegram group where all
do we,
students can help each other.
okay, and do we work on any project as well? Because like if we'll show internship, then we'll have to show any project as well.
Yes, Randir sir will guide you on that which all projects will be covered.
Okay.
Is it completely online sessions or offline as well?
Considering we have
It
all
is-
working professionals in the batch, it is very difficult for everyone to travel, and many are from different cities. So we would prefer live sessions than offline ones.
And where exactly this institute based? Which
It's
city?
in Pune, Paner. If you are if
Okay.
you're a Pune resident, we would like to meet you personally in office.
Okay. Thank you for the session.
Thanks all. Thanks for attending the session.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It was really nice.
Thank you. Happy weekend to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.